Hello, friends. Not all help heals. Some care heals, some care harms, and knowing the difference can be the line between recovery and retraumatization. I speak to you today not only as someone who has walked through the deep valleys of trauma, but also as a trained biblical counselor and certified mental health coach, specializing in crisis and trauma care. I know the good that these roles can offer, and I also know that without clinical training, what's meant to help can sometimes cause great harm. My suffering would not have stretched on for almost a decade if I had received proper care early on. This is why I care so deeply that survivors don't have to wait years for the tools, language, and information to make wise decisions for themselves with full autonomy away from their place of harm. For 6 long years, I was spiritually homeless, disconnected from safe church community, yet deeply entangled with a small in-house biblical counseling organization connected to the church of my harm. The biblical counselor who influenced me claimed trauma expertise without the clinical training to truly protect. In those years, I became dependent on her and a small circle of older women, one a women's ministry leader I served alongside in a volunteer role, the other a Bible study leader I sat under as a teacher and spiritual mother. Both were older and influential in the church. I considered them spiritual mentors. But this circle told me repeatedly that things were changing inside that system. And so I languished in isolation, silenced from sharing my story, and fed the hope that maybe if I just waited, the unsafe would become safe again. When I eventually returned for what I hoped would be a biblical restoration process, something no trauma survivor should be pressured to attempt. It wasn't because leadership invited me back. It was an internal pressure to stop the pain, to try one last time, to make amends and reclaim my community. I truly wanted to return from a pure heart, and my hope was fueled by those same voices telling me change had come. But the truth hit quickly and hard. There was no change. The abusive leadership had doubled down in the years that I had been gone. When I re-entered, I was treated like the abuser by those I had grieved for so long. It was Darvo in action: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. That realization triggered a breakdown so severe I almost needed hospitalization. And in the midst of that collapse, God whispered to my spirit, "You don't go to church to die." When I confessed this to my closest confidant in my circle, I was gaslit and asked if I just wasn't fighting spiritual warfare enough. That's when I began licensed therapy, which for me was a life or death decision. At the time, I did not know I had complex PTSD, but I had lived with chronic ideation during our years-long trauma. Therapy helped me break free from my insular, harmful healing and slowly reattach to the real Jesus outside of that place of harm. I am still in that process now, but thankfully farther along, and my complex trauma symptoms have greatly diminished. Let me share with you why licensed therapy matters. Licensed therapy is care provided by professionals with state licensure, trained to diagnose and treat trauma, depression, anxiety, and other mental health conditions. They are bound by ethical codes, legal accountability, and continuing education requirements, along with supervision. They understand how the nervous system holds pain, how the brain processes trauma, and how to help you heal without causing new harm. Now for where biblical counseling fits. Biblical counseling can offer meaningful spiritual care through Scripture, but it is not mental health treatment. Without formal mental health training, biblical counseling can unintentionally spiritualize or dismiss the depth of a survivor's pain. For those carrying wounds from spiritual abuse, it can also re-trigger trauma when church systems protect abusers. Now for where coaching fits. Life coaching and mental health coaching can be valuable for growth, encouragement, and skill building, but they are not a substitute for therapy. Coaches are not trained or licensed to diagnose, treat, or process trauma at a clinical level. The best coaches will recognize their scope and refer you to a licensed therapist when trauma care is needed. In closing, the wrong kind of care can unknowingly reopen wounds or delay true healing. For complex trauma survivors like myself, that kind of harm isn't just unhelpful. It can be dangerous, even life-threatening. This is why I am so passionate about this healing tool. It goes to the very heart of my Tending Wounds Tuesday series, helping survivors name their wounds, find safe care, and heal in the presence of real Jesus. Beautiful soul, healing from deep wounds takes courage, and you don't have to do it alone. You deserve care that is both safe and skilled, with guides who walk in gentleness, hold space for your pain, and honor your worth. May you find voices that listen without judgment, hands that help without harm, and hearts that believe in your story. And may the real Jesus steady you, surround you, and bring you into wholeness. Every session, every step, every breath. Go in peace, and may His peace go with you. Love, Rhea.